Islam has had a strong presence in Portugal since the 8th century. It flourished in this land thanks to Thariq bin Ziyad, who successfully conquered the Iberian Peninsula from the Visigoths in 711 AD. For centuries, from 711 to 1249 AD, this country was under Islamic rule. Today, Portugal is the most tolerant Western European country towards religious diversity. Explicitly, the country located in the Iberian Peninsula adheres to secularism, separating religious interests from governance. Despite its secular reputation, Portugal still pays attention to religious life and interfaith relations. Here are some sites that bear silent witness to the existence of Islam in Portugal. The fortress located in Lisbon, Portugal, is believed to have been a defensive stronghold used by the Moors, the Muslim people from North Africa, in the 11th to 12th centuries when Lisbon was an important coastal city for Islam. However, when Islamic rule ended, the castle was taken over by Portugal's first king, Alfonso Henriques, in 1142 AD. This castle, with its 10 towers, served as a royal palace for 3 centuries. In the castle, known as St. George's Castle, Castel de São Jorge, there is a museum with a collection of various archaeological finds, including Islamic cultural heritage. Moorish Castle. Construction of the Moorish castle began in the 8th century AD, possibly 711 AD, but there are no records of when it was completed. The fortress, covering the upper part of the Gibraltar Hill to the sea, is one of the most impressive relics of Islamic rule in Portugal. It is located in the small town of Sintra, about 50 kilometers from Lisbon. The castle is surrounded by sturdy fortifications that wind over the hills. Besides serving as a defensive stronghold, the castle also functioned to monitor enemy movements from the Atlantic viewpoint. National Palace of Sintra. Another building that strongly indicates Islam's former dominance in Portugal is the National Palace of Sintra. This predominantly white building was the official residence of the governor during the Islamic era. The building contains Islamic art and carvings. The history of the Sintra Palace began in Moorish Al-Andalus after the Umayyad dynasty conquered Hispania in the 8th century when Sintra had 2 palaces. One was located on a hill overlooking Sintra, known as Castelo dos Mouros, Moorish Castle, which is now almost in ruins. The second fortress was located downhill from Castelo dos Mouros and was the residence of the Islamic Moorish Taifa of Lisbon rulers. According to Arab geographer al-Bukhari, this building was constructed around the 12th century, after power shifted to King Afonso Henriques. Portugal is a unitary state with a semi-presidential system and a constitutional republic. It is located in the Iberian Peninsula, at the southwestern tip of Europe. To the north and east, Portugal borders Spain, while to the west it borders the Atlantic Ocean. According to preliminary results of the 2021 census, the country with its capital in Lisbon has a population of 10,344,802. The people living in Portugal follow various religions. According to data, the majority of the population in Portugal adheres to Roman Catholicism. During the time when Portugal was part of the Roman Empire, Christianity had already developed in this region. Catholicism has played a significant role in the formation of the Portuguese state. According to the 2020 Central Intelligence Agency report, 81% of Portugal's population is Roman Catholic. However, most of them admit to not practicing their religion, including not attending church. Besides Catholicism, 3.3% of Portugal's population is affiliated with other Christian denominations. Other religions present in Portugal include Islam, Judaism, and Buddhism, each adhered to by 0.6% of the population. According to the same report, 8.3% of the population did not specify a religious affiliation, while 6.8% identified as not following any religion. Portugal was once under Islamic rule from the 8th to the 13th centuries. The area under Islamic rule was known as Garb al-Andalus at the time, now recognized as Portugal and Spain. Al-Andalus then prospered and flourished under Islamic governance when it joined the Umayyad Caliphate. However, Islam in Portugal declined, and much of its Islamic heritage has been forgotten over the centuries. the shift in governance from Islamic rule was marked by the emergence of Catholic-tinged governance that took over the region. Mustafa Abdul Sattar, a 33-year-old from Iraq, managed to escape the war in his country. He then sailed from Turkey to Greece. Upon arrival, he was offered a settlement in Portugal, a country he knew little about. However, upon reaching Portugal, he was surprised by how much he found familiar from his homeland. "I found many common words," said Mustafa Abdul Sattar before counting the things that resembled those in his country. In terms of food, there were names referring to blood or cities. Another example is the expression Oksala, pronounced Oshala, derived from the Arabic Insha Allah. The things Mustafa Abdul Sattar encountered were not surprising. The Arab influence is still found in the Portuguese language. This is because the region was ruled by Arabic-speaking Muslims, known as Moors, for centuries. In the 8th century, Muslims sailed from North Africa to take control of what is now Portugal and Spain. Known as Al-Andalus, this region joined the expanding and prospering Umayyad Caliphate under Muslim rule. However, much of this heritage has been forgotten in a country where the majority of the population is Catholic. In Portuguese schools, the 5 centuries of Muslim rule are only briefly studied. Textbooks emphasize more on the reconquest by Christian rulers. With the help of Crusaders, Christians won the war in the 13th century. Since then, Portuguese identity has been historically constructed to overshadow Moorish dominance, often portrayed as the enemy. However, not everyone agrees with this version of history. Most of the population embraced Islam, explained Filomena Barros, a professor of medieval history at the University of Évora, as quoted by Al Jazeera recently. In the 10th century, research shows, half of the population of the Iberian Peninsula, comprising Spain, Portugal, Andorra, Gibraltar, and a bit of France, were Muslims. According to Barros, Muslims who sailed from North Africa were no more foreign than the Christian kings and soldiers from Northern Europe. It is very interesting that we do not talk about the Roman conquest or the Visigothic kingdom's conquest, but we always talk about the Islamic conquest, he said. Before the Muslim forces arrived, the region was ruled by the Visigoths, Germanic people who ruled between 418 and 711. He explained that history textbooks emphasize the battles fought by Christian rulers against Muslims. However, he stressed that the defeat of Muslim armies did not mean the end of the Muslim presence in Portugal. The Christian reconquest did not mean Muslims returned to their lands, because this land was also theirs, said the historian.